Hi everybody, it's Mr. Wedge. I'm not here, but I am here. And today we're going to practice fading colors with paint. So when we practiced value scales, we did different lights and darks to see if we could get different values. And then we tried to fade from light to dark, and we could blend and smudge with our fingers or use a Q-tip. We're going to try to do that with paint today. So you're going to need a plate with two colors on it. It doesn't matter what colors. A paper towel. This is practice paper, the little one, and the big one is for a painting that we're going to do. And then you need a pencil and a brush. And the size brush is up to you. I like to start with a medium one. Not too big, not too small. But first thing we're going to do is set this good paper aside, the bigger one. We'll use that later. You can put your name on your paper if you want, but this is just for practice. And then I've got my brush. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. On this little practice paper, we're going to try to put these two colors down. We're not going to mix them, but we're going to try to fade from one to the other on the paper. Let me show you what I mean. I like to start with the lighter color, but it doesn't really matter. But you put it down quick. Wipe your brush off. We don't need water for this. Put your other color down right next to it so they touch. Clean your brush one more time. Doesn't have to be perfect, just get the paint off quick. And then while both colors are still wet, you brush back and forth in between them and you create a fade. And you could also use your finger for this too, to blend it and smudge it. But there we go. So while the colors were still wet, I faded from orange to green, and in between they'll mix together. But the only way you can do it is while both colors are still wet. So now I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to try to do it inside a shape. So I'm just going to draw some random shape here, and I'm going to try to fill in this shape with this fade that I made. So same thing, I'm going to put one color in, and I don't really care how I do it, but at the edges I got to slow down and be careful because I don't want to go outside the shape. And you got to work kind of quick because this paint dries pretty quick. So what I like to do is put a little extra color right down here where I know I'm going to fade it in a minute. While it's still wet, I clean my brush. Doesn't have to be perfect. Scoop up your other color, fill it in, but then when you get to the edges you got to slow way down and be careful. We want sharp edges. Stay inside your shape. Okay? Clean your brush one more time. And then while they're both still wet, you blend it and you fade it. Okay, and like I said, you can use your finger. It actually works better if you use your finger. And then we'll let that dry. Okay, so before we draw or do anything, we're going to practice fading between one color and another. It doesn't matter which colors. But try to do it, and then try to do it inside a shape that you drew. So we'll take a minute, do that, and then we'll pause the video here and we'll come back to it. Alright, so now that we know a little bit about Georgia O'Keeffe, we're going to actually do a drawing of either an animal skull or some bones or a flower. And I picked this super creepy picture of, I think, some kind of, it's like a Cape buffalo skull from Africa. If this creeps you out, you could always just draw a nice flower. But I'm going to go for this one, but I'm just going to think about it like it's a bunch of shapes. And I'm not going to be too hard on myself. So I'm going to set this aside, get my good paper, put my name on the back. And don't forget your class code underneath, 4-something. Alright, flip it over. So make sure your name's on it before you draw. And then don't be too hard on yourself or struggle too much. Nobody's going to see this picture, they're just going to see the shapes in your drawing. Just try to make it as big as you can. It should fill up the whole paper. So I might actually draw this a little bit bigger. So I see it's round at the top, curved here, kind of does a little zigzag thing. This looks like the letter L to me. So, and there's a circle in the middle, so I'm just going to think about it like it's shapes. and do my best to draw it. And like I said, it doesn't really matter if it's perfect or not. Nobody's gonna see it. Georgia O'Keeffe drew things like this because she was interested in the shapes. There's the teeth. There's another little shape. This comes straight across and loops around for the creepy eyeball. There's like this shape right in here. So I'll draw that. I'm not drawing it exactly right, but I don't really care. It's my art. Alright, and you notice it almost touches the edges of the paper too, right? I don't even care what shape this is, I'm just going to repeat it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and now I'm ready to paint. If you mess up and you just cannot draw this stuff, it's okay to take your picture and your paper and go hold it up against the window and trace it. But just make sure you put your name on the back and for something first. But once you have some shapes, now we can start filling in this painting just like we did with our practice. So every shape in this picture is going to have two colors in it that we fade between. So let me show you what I mean. I could use those colors that I had before, and it doesn't really matter what order we start with. I washed my brush and I washed my hands and I got a new paper towel to start over. So you can do that anytime you want to. Anytime you need to stop and clean up or clean your table, you're allowed to do that. So there we go. Clean my brush really quick. Put my other color in. I gotta work quick because the only way you can fade between two colors is when they're both wet. So I gotta be slow and careful on the edges, but I gotta keep moving. And Georgia O'Keeffe wouldn't use the right colors. You know what I mean? These are the wrong colors for some animal bones. But this is art. We're not trying to make it look like real life necessarily. We're trying to make it look awesome. So then we got to try to fade in the middle, in between our colors. And you don't have to just stick to those colors that you practiced with. You can go get more plates. And if you really don't see what you want, you can even pour your own. So there we go. I faded inside this shape with two colors. But for this eyeball, I'm going to do two different colors. So I'm going to keep going through my whole picture until I get what I'm looking for. So I'm going to put red in half of this circle shape. Clean my brush really quick. Doesn't have to be perfect. Put more color down. Clean my brush one more time. And while they're both still wet, I just brush back and forth and fade them. Don't be afraid to use your finger. It's not naughty. All artists do this. They'll use their finger or they'll use the other side of the brush to scratch in. There's not really a lot of rules in art. Just do what you need to do to get the picture you're looking for. I'm going to keep going and keep filling this with all different kinds of colors. Alright, so you can see how every single shape has two colors in it. And every time I put two colors inside a shape, I try to fade from one to another. The same way we've been doing. So, I got a long way to go. I got more shapes like this one. The background is actually a huge shape, and I got to do that too, so I'll probably switch to a bigger brush. But keep going. Here's a flower I did. I drew like the inside of a rose. It doesn't look exactly like it, but every time there was a shape, I picked two colors and I faded them inside the shape. Same for this bull skull right here. I thought this kind of looked like fire, so I liked the way I did like the holes in the bones for the nose. But work hard, have fun. You don't have to finish it. Just please make sure your name's on the back and you put this on the drying rack when you're done. And I'll see you guys soon.